Marilyn Monroe was born Norma Jean Baker on June 1st, 1926, to Gladys Pearl Baker. Mentally and financially unprepared for a child, Gladys placed Marilyn in the care of Albert and Ida Bolander, an evangelical couple that lived in Hawthorne, California. Gladys stayed with them for the first 6 months, but was forced to move back to Los Angeles due to work. She would visit Marilyn on weekends until the summer of 1933, when she bought a small home in Hollywood and moved her daughter in, where she shared with actors George and Maud Atkinson, along with their daughter, Nellie. Unfortunately, in January of 1934, Gladys was diagnosed with paranoid schizophrenia and would spend the rest of her life in and out of hospitals, rarely having any contact with Marilyn. Marilyn became a ward of the state until Grace Goodard, Gladys' best friend, took over the responsibilities. But the next 4 years of Marilyn's life would be spent living from place to place. The first year and a half was spent with the Atkinses, where it said she was sexually abused. In the summer of 1935, she briefly stayed with Grace and her husband until September, where Grace Goodard placed Marilyn in the Los Angeles orphan home until 1936, when she was made Marilyn's legal guardian. Yet, Grace didn't take her out of the orphanage until the summer of 1937. Marilyn's second stay with the Goodards only lasted a few months until it was discovered that Grace's husband, Doc Goodard, was molesting her. So Grace placed Marilyn in the care of her Aunt Anna Lower. The stay lasted until 1941, when she returned to live with Grace and Doc Goodard due to Grace's aunt not being able to care for Marilyn because of elderly health problems. In 1942, Doc Goodard's company he worked for relocated him to West Virginia, but California's child protection law prevented the couple from taking Marilyn out of state. So once again, Marilyn was faced with being returned back to the orphanage. Her solution? At 16 years old, she married 21-year-old James Doherty on June 19, 1942. She would then drop out of high school to become a full-time housewife. In 1943, James Dougherty enlisted in the Merchant Marines, where he was stationed on Santa Catalina Island. A year later, in April, he was shipped out to the Pacific, and Marilyn moved in with his parents, where she got a job at the radio playing company. Later on that year, Marilyn would meet photographer David Conover, who was sent to the factory to shoot morale-boosting pictures of female workers. It was this encounter where Marilyn would once again make another life-changing decision. So, in January of 1945, she quit her job at the radio playing company to become a full-time model for David Conover and his friends. And despite her deployed husband's disapproval, moved out on her own and signed a contract with Blue Book Modeling Agency in August of that same year. During her first year of modeling, Marilyn went under the name Jean Norman and ended up appearing in over 33 magazine covers such as Pageant, U.S. Camera, and Laugh. Around August of 1946, after giving a screen test by 20th Century Fox exec Ben Lyon, she was given a 6-month contract. It was then where she was given the name we would all know her from to this day, Marilyn Monroe. The first name was after the Broadway star Marilyn Miller, and the last was Marilyn's mother's maiden name. A month later, she would divorce James Dougherty after 4 years of marriage. During her first contract, however, she would not have any film roles, but instead used the time to focus on her singing, dancing, and observation of other actors and actresses. It wouldn't be until her renewal when she was given her first 2 roles. Evie the waitress in the movie Dangerous Years.
Hi, Evie.
Hi,
small change.
Hey, wait. I got money tonight. Am I going to see you later?
I'm not too tired.
But, Evie, I thought we had a date.
Look, this tray weighs a ton.
And Betty in Scudder Who, Scudder Hay.
He needs it.
Oh, hush up and go wait in the car. Oh, hi, Red. Oh, hi, Betty.
But 6 months later, Fox didn't renew Marilyn's contract because despite her enthusiasm, they felt she was too shy and insecure to be an actress. Nevertheless, Marilyn was determined to make it. So she kept honing her craft, as well as promoting herself in a very feminine way. She frequented producers' offices, became friends with popular gossip journalist Sidney Sklosky, entertained guests at studio functions, and even became friends and the occasional sex partner with Fox exec Joseph Schneck, which is how she got signed with Columbia Pictures in March of 1948 after Schneck persuaded Harry Cohn, a close friend and head exec of Columbia Pictures at the time. This is also around the time where the Marilyn Monroe that we know today started making her transformation into the blonde bombshell we all come to adore. She also went from girl next door roles to roles where every woman wanted to be and every man wanted to be with. It was also around this time where Marilyn would do the most iconic thing that she's still known to this day. For in 1949, desperate for money at the time, Marilyn posed nude for photographer Tom Kelly in exchange for $50 she needed to make a car payment. 4 years later, in 1953, Playboy CEO Hugh Hefner would legally purchase the pictures for $500 and use them to kickstart the now famous magazine we've come to know as Playboy. For immediately, the first issue sold over 50,000 copies, featuring Marilyn Monroe as the cover and what was known at the time as Sweetheart of the Month. Sad part about this moment, though, was Marilyn never received any compensation financially for her role in making Playboy what it is today. But there's a silver lining, for many people believed it helped her already rising star rise even higher and shine even brighter. For movie roles kept pouring in. Movies like Clash by Night, Don't Bother to Knock, River No Return, We're Not Married, O. Henry's Full House, Some Like It Hot, Niagara, Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, How to Marry a Millionaire, and The 7-Year Itch, where once again Marilyn would create another iconic memory with her famous subway grate scene. It was also during these times she would marry baseball legend Joltin' Joe DiMaggio, which only lasted 9 months and ended in divorce, and American playwright Arthur Miller, which lasted 5 years, but also ended in divorce. Marilyn Monroe's star was steadily climbing. Besides her acting, her singing was top-notch as well, singing memorable songs like Diamonds Are a Girl's Best Friend from the movie Gentlemen Prefer Blondes, Kiss from Niagara, I Want to Be Loved by You from Some Like It Hot, and Let's Make Love from the movie with the same title. In January of 1953, she won the Fastest Rising Star Award, for which she appeared at the ceremony wearing a skin-tight gold dress. But around the 60s, times started getting rough for the beautiful blonde icon, and the stress of being a highly demanded actress turned her to the one thing that many celebrities go down: that path of drugs and alcohol, mainly barbiturates. Around the spring of 1962, after winning a Golden Globe for World's Favorite Film, Marilyn was set to film the movie Something's Got to Give, but held up most of production due to her sinus infection. And on May 19th, she took time off to attend President John F. Kennedy's early birthday celebration, where she sang her now famous Happy Birthday, Mr. President song. This caused more irritation for Fox executives that they used Marilyn's time off to sing for the president as an excuse to fire and sue her for a supposed breach of contract. They were going to replace her with Lee Remick, but Dean Martin refused to work with anyone but Marilyn on the film. Fox execs sued him too, as well as began spreading negative publicity about Marilyn, alleging that she was mentally disturbed. They would regret this decision sooner than later and reopened their negotiation with Marilyn to not only recommence Something Got to Give, but also offer her a starting role in their upcoming movie, What a Way to Go. But she would never get the chance. Around 3 a.m. on August 4th, 1962, Marilyn Monroe's housekeeper went to check on her after she saw the lights underneath her bedroom door. When Marilyn didn't answer, the housekeeper called Marilyn's psychiatrist, who broke into the bedroom window and found Marilyn dead, lying in bed naked under the sheets, clutching the telephone. Marilyn's autopsy placed her death between 8:30 and 10:30 p.m. Her toxicology report showed large levels of chlorohydrate and barbiturates, which led to the conclusion of a possible suicide. Yet many conspiracy theories came out later, claiming that she might have actually been murdered. But that's another story. To this day, Marilyn Monroe is still recognized worldwide. She's become a cultural icon amongst actresses and cosplayers in places like Las Vegas. Marilyn Monroe is buried at the Pierce Brothers Westwood Village Memorial Park Cemetery in Los Angeles, California. She was 36 years old. I'm Psycho Rick. Thanks for watching.